Hello, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Kristen Romance and I am the estate planning mom. I come to you live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. to answer your questions about estate planning. So estate planning can include lots of different things that have to deal with wills, with trust, if you have a power of attorney, advanced healthcare directive, if you have minor children, naming guardians for your minor children, um, transferring assets upon your passing to your family, how to avoid probate court, what is probate court, a trust administration. So these are all really important aspects that make up estate planning. And so if you are just joining us, please make sure to post your questions into the text there, and I will try and get to those. And I'm going to start with some questions that were sent to me privately. Always feel free that if you have any questions at any time and you're watching this in the replay, please feel free to email us info@hermanslaw.com, or you can always visit our website. There's lots of information on there. It's hermanslaw.com, and you could always call our office 805-518-9633. I almost gave you my cell phone number there, so glad I gave you my office line. Not that I don't want you to call my cell phone, but okay, so let's get started with the first question. So again, if you're just joining us, make sure to post your comments there. So first question, what is a living will? So I hear this a lot where people say, oh, I have a living will, that's all I really need. And I think there's this kind of misconception about what a living will is, because when you hear the term living will, you think of, oh, I have a will. Well, that's technically not what a will is. A living will in California is also known as an advanced healthcare directive. And so what a living will is in that kind of context is it's basically what your healthcare wishes are. It doesn't have to do with how you want your stuff distributed when you pass away. It has to do with what kind of healthcare things that you would want if something happened to you and you were unable to communicate. Hey, thanks for joining us. So an advanced healthcare directive in California, and that's again where I practice, and so this is pertaining to California law. So an advanced healthcare directive is a document where it allows you to identify, if you are unable to communicate, who would you want making healthcare decisions on your behalf? And so it allows you to identify an agent in that healthcare directive. And so I recommend having, a primary healthcare agent, and if you're married, it's usually your spouse. It doesn't have to be, but it generally is. And then having backups listed. So if your spouse or whoever you name as your primary is unable to make those healthcare decisions for you, you have backups. In an advanced healthcare directive, it also allows you to put what your end of life choices are. So if you wanted to be buried or cremated, if you wanted to have prolonged life support with extreme measures, or if you were in a persistent vegetative state, would you want to be taken off life support? It also allows you to identify if you want to do any type of organ donation for transplant purposes. And so that's what this document does, is it allows you to put your wishes in writing, that if something were to happen and you are unable to communicate that, this document would say exactly what your wishes were. One of the most, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? Most known cases that people have heard of in the past is the Terri Schiavo case. And this was a case where the woman was, she was 26 years old. She had a stroke in her home. She was married. And at the time, she didn't have any legal documentation that said what her wishes were. She was young, and most people, when they're young, they don't think about having documents like that. But she went to the hospital. They did the procedures on her to try and revive her. But at the point that, about 2 weeks later, she was in a persistent vegetative state, meaning she didn't really know what was going on around her. The quality of life was just very low for her. So her husband at that time had said, that he wanted to take her off life support and take her off the machines. Her parents, on the other hand, did not want that. And so what then ensued was 13 years of legal battles, where, because she didn't have any documentation that said what she wanted, it was going through the courts. It was very highly publicized case. It went, it went to the Supreme Court. It went to the President of the United States at the time. It also went to the Vatican. And so in the end, the husband did end up prevailing, and he took her off life support, and she passed away shortly thereafter. It could have been prevented, though. I mean, just think about that many years of legal battles where it could have been prevented if she had this documentation that said, if something were to happen, I wouldn't want to be kept on prolonged life support. And so that's why this document is so important, especially if you think there's the possibility that you could have family that wouldn't agree. And then it just makes it very clear what you would want so that this type of thing didn't happen. Okay, so again, living will in California, known as an advanced healthcare directive. I've seen people come to me where they've had a living will for somebody that passed away, and they thought that the living will was actually their will, that basically said if they passed away, this is how they would want their stuff distributed. Those are two separate documents. People get this confused all the time. And so a living will is not an actual will that says how you want your stuff distributed. So just making it very clear, those are two separate things. They complete very different things for you. One is relating to healthcare, the other is relating to stuff. So that's why it's important to make sure that you know which document you have, and that you are that you're completing the document that you actually need and that you want. And it might be both, and generally it is. And so it's making sure that whatever you're trying to communicate, that you're using the proper documentation to do that, the proper legal documents. And if you do not know, that is something that we help clients with, is we devise a plan for them and making sure that their wishes are legally documented, so that if something were to happen, that it would be very clear and that they would have the correct documents to state all of their stuff. So if you're just joining us and you have a question, please put it in the comments. You can also send me a message directly and I can try to get to those. But if you put them in the comments, I'll be able to answer those for you. So if you're just joining us, thank you. And just make sure to put your comments in the question and I can get to those. Okay, let's go on to our next question. Okay, how do I make sure that my emergency people know where to find my stuff? This is a really great question. I do get this a lot from clients when we get their estate plan done, we get everything in order, and they get their binder. This is our estate planning binder here that we use for clients. Is how do we make sure that our emergency people know where to find it? And it's really, there's a few different things. So I'll kind of go through this with you. The first thing is that, if you have scanned versions of all of your documents, signed like scanned versions, you might want to provide those to your emergency people. It's totally up to you if you want to do it, but it's an option that you just, provide them a copy of it. Like for us, we actually provide all of our clients with a USB drive that we scan all of the documents, and once they're signed and we put them on a USB drive, this is a USB drive, and this will, it pops out and you just put it in and you can upload it to your computer, put it on the cloud, but you can do things that you want to do with it. So we provide this to clients so that they actually have that scanned copy to be able to provide to people. So you can email them to them. You can put them somewhere in the cloud that they would be able to get to them. So that's one option. The other thing is when you get your binder or whatever estate planning documents you have, you want to put them somewhere that people know where to find them. So like for our clients, I tell people, put them somewhere in a bookcase, in your office, or somewhere that you can tell people how or where to find them. So it's really important to make sure that they're able to find these documents. One of the biggest things I see is when people, and it happens a lot with older clients, that they put their documents somewhere that is locked up, maybe in a safe or in a safety deposit box. And so people can't actually find the documents when it comes to being able to know where the documents are. And that's so important, because if you can't find the documents, especially when it comes into emergency, how are they supposed to know how to act? How are they supposed to know what to do, where to find things? And so one is keeping the documents where people know where they are, and then next, being able to actually access them. Sometimes we see it where things end up in a safety deposit box, and then people don't, one, know the safety deposit box exists, or two, can't actually access it in a time when they need to. And so that's why it's really important to make sure that you are having these documents somewhere that people know where to find them. So important. Okay, the other thing that I will mention, which is really a newer process for us that we do here at our firm, is we have for our clients an option. It's called Everplans is the new process. And the Everplans is a website, and if you aren't a client, you absolutely can go to their website and you can sign up for your own account. And Everplans is the ability to upload your documents, that your legal, like planning documents or any documents that you have for that matter, and save them in the cloud. And then you have what they call deputies that you identify in your Everplans that will allow you to say, you know, if something happens, these people can go in and get access to these documents. And so this is something new that we actually just started doing for our clients, because I thought it was so important that people were able to share these documents, not necessarily now, but in an emergency, and have them up in the cloud. This is something that's complementary for our clients. But it allows you the ability to share documents with them now, or even in the future, that if something happened, they can access these. I do have a free printable. If you're interested, you can go to our website, and it's going to be, if you go to, hermanslaw.com, there is a tab up under the resources there that's called freebies. And we have a ton of documents that you can download to assist you in making sure your emergency plans are in place. And so one of the ones that I think is really important kind of in this topic that we're talking about, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, worksheet, digital, and online accounts. And so this is the ability for you to print out this worksheet and go in and save, put information on all of these different types of accounts that you have, and have this in one place, so that if something happens, some emergency, your emergency people would know all of these different accounts and where to find them. And it's really just really organizing everything that you have. So that I definitely recommend you go and look in those freebie section, because it's a really great resource for you to be able to go and find whatever resources you need, because there are a lot of different checklists on there, a lot of different printables and things that I think would be very beneficial for you or somebody in your family that might need some assistance with some stuff. So definitely go check out those freebies. Okay, if you are just joining us, make sure to put your questions in the comment section, and I will try to get to those. We do have a few more questions that I have here from people that sent those in, so I'm going to try and get to those. If you have any questions and you don't feel like you want to post them, I completely understand it. Go ahead and just send us an email, and it's info@hermanslaw.com. And you can always send us a message by either texting or calling our office, 805-518-9633. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our next question. Okay, so what is your estate planning process? Really great question. I know a lot of people are kind of intimidated by what estate planning is and how we do it. One of the things I will say is that for estate planning, everything that we do for clients is to make your life easier. We do it in a way that I know that people are intimidated, or they're overwhelmed, and they don't want to do it because they think it's just going to be this huge burden, almost like taxes. And I will say it is much more pleasant in my experience with doing taxes, because we try to make everything easy for you. We try to make it in this way that's going to not make it scary. Everything we do is kind of from this planning side. It's not planning for your death in that sense that I want it to be emotional. I try and take the emotion out of it, because I know it's scary, and I know most people don't want to think about it. And so we do it in a way that it's just planning, right? That's all we're doing, is we're putting a plan in place. So when we start the planning process, generally it starts with some type of communication that we know that you're interested. So we will send you an online worksheet, and everything we do is trying to be very technology inclined, especially with everything that's going on right now. Is we will send you an online worksheet for you to complete, where we'll ask you a series of questions to kind of just know what's going on with your family. What are the assets that you have? Do you own a home? How much is it worth? Do you have life insurance, retirement accounts? What type of banking do you have? Checking, savings, things like that. so that we have an idea of kind of how to assess your situation. So we'll have you complete that online. Everything is done online. You don't have to send anything in, scan or fax anything to us. So we'll get that done. We will then get a family planning assessment scheduled for you. Lots of different ways to get that scheduled. You can actually go to our website, and in the top right-hand corner, there is a button up there that says book appointment. You can do this from your phone, a tab, a computer, anywhere to make it super easy for you. And when you go to the book appointment on our website, it actually brings up an option to choose the type of appointment you want. And so we have 3 offices. We have our Ventura office, Westlake office, and Santa Clarita office. And so you choose. If you are near any of those and they would be convenient for you, you choose which one. If you are not near any of those, you choose virtual. A virtual is for us to work with any client in California. And we have clients all over the state, up in San Francisco. We have clients in Anaheim, Orange County, Pasadena, San Diego area. So wherever you are, if you are not near one of our physical locations, you choose the virtual family planning assessment as an option. And once you pick whichever one you want there from your options, it will actually give you a calendar. So you choose the date and time that works for your schedule. So there's not going to be this email going back and forth that us trying to figure out the best time that it works. You choose whatever option. The other thing that I really love about our practice is we are very flexible because we are all working parents. So we actually have appointments that are available during the day, if that works for you, but we have evening appointments, which I know is really great for a lot of families that they do it after work, or they even do it, we have late appointments. You know, I'm a working mom, so it oftentimes will help if I can work after my kids go to bed, and I like that flexibility because it gives the flexibility back to our clients. And so we have late appointments available. We do have some Saturday appointments available, so take advantage of that. If you can't do it during the week, Saturdays are sometimes a great option. And so you book the appointment time that works for you. You get it all scheduled online. Then you are going to get a series of emails, one confirming the appointment with a Zoom link, because right now all of our appointments are done virtually. And it's just with everything going on, it makes it a lot easier to just be able to do everything online. You'll get a Zoom link. You will then get emails with information about preparing for it. You'll get a video that kind of just does a brief introduction to kind of save us time in our actual meeting. And then you'll get a price sheet. I'm very transparent when it comes to prices. And so I do not play hide the ball at all. I want you to know how much it costs you. I mean, it's not cheap, right? But I think it's absolutely reasonable in dealing with attorneys in our area. But I want you to know how much it is. You know, you need to know beforehand. And it's, you know, everything we do from an estate planning perspective when we're looking at wills and trust is we do everything on a flat fee pricing so that you know how much it is. And so going into it, you know, it's not going to be an hourly rate. So you don't actually know how much it's going to be. And I think a lot of times people are kind of intimidated by that, especially if they've had to deal with attorneys in the past and have been not happy with how much something's going to cost. So this allows clients to know how much something is before actually going into it. And so with that, I will send you a pricing sheet included with that when it gets sent out to you. In addition to that, we need to make sure you have your worksheet completed prior to that family planning assessment that we have. So the family planning assessment, when we have it, generally we do it over Zoom. If you are not comfortable with Zoom, then we will do it over the telephone. But when we have our meeting with you, the family planning assessment, it will be with one of our attorneys. And in that meeting, we will go through and do an assessment. If something happens to you, if you have minor kids, what happens to your kids? And then what happens to your stuff? And then we'll go through it as best as we can, knowing the information that we have. You know, if something happened and you don't have a plan in place, what's going to happen having to deal with probate? What are the estimated costs that are associated with it? How is that money going to go to your kids? If you have minor kids or children that are under the age of 18, or even, you know, I just had a client, they have kids that are 19 and 21, you know, how is that money going to be distributed to them? Is that the way that you would want it distributed to them? So these are kind of all things that we talk through. If in that meeting you do not like what would happen without a plan in place, we actually design a plan for you to resolve all of that. And so it's really going through and, you know, figuring out How do you want your trust set up? How would you want money distributed to your kids? Who would you want as your backup people? Your agents, your fiduciaries, the people that would be in charge if you were unable to make that decision and be able to either care for yourself or care for your stuff, or if something happened, who do you want to step in and make those emergency decisions and follow your instructions? And so we do that in that same meeting where we design it. The general estate planning process takes anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. If you're virtual, it can take a little bit longer because we do need to mail some stuff to you to get things signed. But during that process, we have online communication where we have a client portal. It's a secure client portal where we message each other back and forth. And that's how we then continue the process where, about 2 weeks after we get everything started in that design meeting, you will get an estate planning summary to review, and making sure that everybody's name spelled correctly. Is everybody getting, things in the right way that you would want them to, or are your emergency contacts in the right order? So then you review that, you communicate back to us, we answer any last minute questions or anything. And then about 2 weeks after that, we have your signing appointment, whether it be at one of our office locations or whether you're doing it virtually. And that's it. That is the estate planning process. So again, trying to make it super easy for you. Obviously, there's a bit more involved depending on if you're virtual, if you own a home, getting the deed recorded, and that's all stuff that we handle. That's part of the process of what we do, because again, we're trying to make it easy for you. Okay, so if you have any questions and you're just joining us, please make sure to post your questions in the comments and I will try to get to those. If you're not comfortable posting them, please feel free to reach out to us through email. It's info@hermanslaw.com. You could always send me a direct message, however you're watching this, and I can try and either get back to you or we can get an appointment scheduled. One of the great things that we do have, if you're not ready for a family planning assessment with one of our attorneys, is we do have a free 15-minute information call. You can schedule that by, again, going to our website and going to the book an appointment. And if you scroll down there, you'll see at the very bottom, there is a 15-minute information call. And this is with one of our team members where they just go through what our process is and give, answer your questions to try and make sure that you have an understanding. And then they can book an appointment for you in that free 15-minute information call. And it's just booked the same way. But you can, again, go to our website, hermanslaw.com, to get that booked. Okay, let me see. I think we have time for about one more question. And I'm just going to check the questions here to make sure. Okay. So last question I have here, unless we get any more questions posted, is I have someone that was just diagnosed with cancer. What do we need to do? First off, I am so sorry to hear that. I mean, unfortunately, in my business, it happens a lot. I get calls from clients and people that need help, a few times a week that need assistance. And it's tough. So I would say first off, from an emotional perspective, is just take care of you, take care of the person, figure out from a health-wise what needs to get done. And then looking at documentation. So the biggest thing is making sure that you have proper planning in place. Do you have a power of attorney document? Do you have a healthcare directive, that advanced healthcare directive that I talked about in the beginning, the living will, some people know it, making sure that if something happened and you were unable to have it, to have the capacity to say what you would want, that you have that document. Another one is a Hipaa authorization. This is a document where if you are unable to communicate it, you can tell people how you want, who you want to be able to talk to doctors, get medical records, find out what's going on. A will, right? So depending on what type of assets you have, where you're located in California, having a will allows you to say how you want your stuff distributed if you were to pass away. A lot of times with the clients that we have both a will and a trust that work together. It's all part of our estate planning package that we do, because the difference between a will and a trust, and a lot of people kind of have this misconception about what a will actually does, is A will just allows you to say, one, it allows you to identify who you want to be able to be your personal representative for your estate, that manage it through that probate process. A will allows you to say how you want your stuff distributed, and it allows you to identify guardians for your kids. The issue with a will is that it has to go through probate court, and people think that, oh, I have a will, it doesn't have to worry about that, and that's not the case. All a will does is tell the probate court how you want your stuff distributed. And so that's really kind of that misperception that I see that people have, is all they need is a will. But a lot of times people, when they have assets, and when I say assets, I don't mean like lots of assets where they're, they consider themselves rich. Modest, right? Even just assets where you own a home, where you have life insurance, a retirement account, you have a checking account, savings account. That type of assets would require to go through probate court. And so generally what we're doing when we're working with clients is avoiding probate court. And to avoid probate court, generally having a trust or having beneficiary designations where your assets are avoiding probate. That's the big thing to keep in mind. Probate court in California, especially right now with everything going on, is the issue of the courts taking a really long time. So, it can take anywhere from 1 to 2 years for an estate to actually go through probate court. Whereas when you have a trust, it's going to be a lot quicker. It's also going to save a lot of money. Probate court is set by statutory fees. And so it's literally the size of the estate. It's a percentage that would go to those fees for attorney's fees, personal representative fees, and then you have court costs, filing fees, appraiser fees, valuations, all of these fees, publications, all of the stuff that's made up of it is required to go through probate court. Whereas if you have a trust, the fees are a lot less money. So having those documents, I think, are really a good basis to make sure, or if you have them and you haven't looked at them in maybe 10, 20 years, re-looking at those documents to make sure, is everything in the right order? Or do I have the agents listed there that I still want to be listed there? I see that all the time, where they were documents that were done in the past and they're very old. So you need to make sure that, are the people that you have listed as your agents still the people that you would want to be listed? So I think it's really important to make sure you're going through all those documents. Also, check your beneficiary designations. If you have life insurance, if you have retirement accounts, who do you have listed as your beneficiaries on those documents? Making sure that the people that you actually want listed are the people that you have listed in those documents. So those are really important. Okay, if there are no more questions, if you're just joining us and you have any questions, please make sure to put those in the comments. If not, if you have any questions in the future or I was not able to get to those, please always make sure to email us, info@hermanslaw.com. You can send me a message directly. We also have a ton of information on our website, free printables, videos, on any questions that you have. Our FAQ is very extensive. I also go through all of these different topics, the different types of planning. If you have somebody that passed away and you don't really know, what are my next steps? You can go on our website and look for the services, and we have stuff there on probate. We have stuff on trust administration, and making sure that you have the information. It's just kind of a basic knowledge. That knowledge is going to be very useful in just kind of having an idea of what are the next steps, and then kind of sending us a message or whatever it is that it allows you the ability to get your questions answered. And if you need to book an appointment, again, you have that appointment availability on our website to just get that appointment booked, or you can always send us a message, either calling us or sending us a text, 805-518-9633. So thank you so much for joining me for tonight for estate planning questions and answers. I am here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. If you have any questions, you can always email me directly and I will answer it on here, or you can just come on and put your message in the comments and I will try to get to those. So thank you again for joining me for tonight, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you.